What's good, y'all? It's your boy Spiritual Neezy, back with another video, man. And in today's video, I want to explain and kind of just vent on like why it's so hard to desexualize your mind, you know, as a man, as a woman, as a kid, whatever it is, but especially as a man. You know, the enemy, Satan attacks the man because the man is at the head of the household, right? So if the enemy can get the man is going to lead the family astray. If the man is not operating in his full potential, in his alpha nature, you know, then that's going to affect the family, right? So I want to vent, I want to get personal with y'all right now. So before I started my walk with Christ, right? Before I started really following God, before I gave my life to Christ, I used to masturbate. I used to watch porn, all that, man. And I got introduced to those demons. I got introduced to those demons, those chains, when I was 7 years old. My nigga, my Peter shouldn't have even been able to get up at 7, right? My Johnson, I shouldn't even have been able to get up. But I was introduced to that demon by my father when I was 7. So, you know, being exposed to that, you know, stuff, being exposed to that at such a young age, and for over a decade, I was, you know, in those chains, right? And I was in deep, man. Man, I don't even want to get too far into that, but I was in those chains of lust deep, right? And every day I'm still, you know, breaking free, you know, I'm getting stronger, you know, denying my flesh, feeding my spirit, and just fleeing from temptation, you know, because in Proverbs chapter 21, verse 17, a man that seeketh pleasure shall be a poor man, right? And we also know 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 22, right? Flee from the evil desires of the youth, right? So it's so hard to desexualize, and it's gonna take a long time because, you know, even for people that are watching this right now that struggle with the same thing or are still struggling with it, it's like when you're indulging in that sin, you are literally building it. Like, think of it as like you're building a brick house, right? And every time you indulge, you're stacking the brick on. So when you get to the point where you want to flee, when you get to the point where you want to turn away from wickedness, now it's like you have to tear down that whole house, that whole brick house that you built, that's built off of lust. Now it's like you have to tear it down. And just how it took a long time, it's going to take an even longer time to break it down, to desexualize your mind. It's going to take a long time. It's not going to be an overnight process. And that's the hard truth. That's the hard pill that I had to swallow, is that, you know, following God now, I'm going to have to deal with the repercussions. You know, you reap what you sow. I'm going to have to, you know, fight. I'm going to have to fight to desexualize my mind as long as I was sexualizing it, right? As long as I was given over to the enemy, as long as I was a slave to my lust, I have to now deal with the difficulty of desexualizing my mind and knowing that it's not going to be an overnight process. It's going to take a while. But I want to explain why it's so important to stop masturbating. Like, if you're watching this video right now, I encourage you to get on semen retention. If you're a woman, I encourage you to get on celibacy. Stop using the rose, the shower heads. Stop, bro. And let me explain. First of all, we know that corn, I don't want to say the word, but we know what I'm talking about. We know that corn is not really how sex is, right? We know that is a fantasy version of sex. That's not really how it is. It's no feelings. There's no intimacy in there, right? So when you're masturbating, right, man or woman, as a woman, when you're using the rose and stuff, and you're getting off on toys, you're upping your tolerance, you're upping your orgasm tolerance. So it's gonna make it harder for any man that you have sex with to satisfy you, to get you to reach your orgasm, to get you to peak, to get you to climax, because the rose has already set a standard that the man now has to outdo. And now let me go to how it affects the men. So how it affects the man is it makes you, and I could relate to this when I was back in that sin, is that, you know, beating my meat, it made it like I was a minute man. You know what I'm saying? Like it makes your tolerance lower. Like it makes you bust quicker. So on both sides of the spectrum, it's harder to satisfy your sexual partner when you are a slave to masturbation. As a man, you're gonna bust quicker. As a woman, it's gonna take more to satisfy you, right? But when you're practicing, you know, sexual health and you're treating it how God created it to be, you will be able to perform the way that you're supposed to perform, right? So, you know, it's very important to desexualize your mind, you know, and unwire, you know, unwire your brain from, you know, the sexual immorality, the adultery that has been pushed on it. Because it all starts as a child, right? As someone who, the pain that you're dealing with now, it all stems from your childhood, right? Somebody, whoever, like, when you look at somebody, right, they are what they experienced in their childhood, right? They are a result of the actions and a result of the decisions they've made ever since their childhood. So it's extremely important to desexualize your brain, as a man especially, but as a woman, as a child as well, and unwire your brain. Now, it's gonna take time. You know, somebody in my comments brought this to my attention, to my realization, so shout out to you. But it's gonna take time to desexualize and unwire your brain from all that, you know, demonic stuff, you know, because corn is a demonic industry. Why do you think it's free? It's because you got to understand, the government does not have our best interests at heart. So if something is free, you're the product, bro. You are, you know, what they're making money off of. So it's like, it's free in America, especially because America is hypersexualized. They push out, you know, this evil agenda of lust, drugs, alcohol, all things of Satan, to try to lower your vibration, and they target the men, because if they can get the men, the women, and there's no hope for the women and the children if they can get the man, right? So, you know, this is why it's so important as a young man to make sure that you don't, you know, mess up your generation. You don't mess up your family by being a slave to your lust, right? Because you're being a slave to your lust is going to drive you out of your God-given purpose, out of the purpose that God has ordained for you, right? Everybody has a job. Everybody has a purpose. That's why you're here. So when you're being a slave to your lust, lust is created to drive you away from your purpose, to get you to turn away from God's will for your life, right? You cannot be a slave to your lust. You cannot be a servant of Satan and be a servant of God. You cannot be gratifying the desires of your flesh and fulfilling your purpose. You can't be fulfilling your lustful desires and fulfilling your purpose. You can't do both at the same time. You have to either choose God, your purpose, or Satan, lust. You have to choose one. You cannot play both sides, right? So this is why I say it's important that every time you get tempted with whatever the sin may be, you have to, okay, evaluate the situation and make a conscious decision in that moment. Am I going to choose God or Satan? And you have to choose God every time. God is better than the devil, right? God gives the devil the power that he has. So you just got to understand that, you know, everything that the media, the news, the radio, the social media, everything, you know, it's the agenda is and it's obvious. They don't even try to cover it up. Like it's in our eyes that they're pushing all this lust out in the music that they play on the radio, you know, the social media, right? All these things, OnlyFans, all of that, man. It's all demonic, bro. It's all to keep you at a low vibration. It's all to blind you from the truth, to blind you from your purpose, to stunt your growth, to stunt your potential in this life. That's what lust is there for. It's to get you to not become the best version of yourself. So, you know, yes, it's going to be very hard to desexualize your mind, especially the longer that you've been building that house, that brick house that I was talking about, the longer that you've been indulging in that sin, you know, it's going to be harder the longer that you've done. So like for me, it's been, you know, about 13 years indulging in that before I got saved. So, you know, it's not gonna just, I'm not just gonna, you know, completely, my mind be completely desexualized in a year. No, I know that it's gonna take years, right? I know that. And you just have to have the strength, you know, you have to have the strength to be able to, you know, you have to have the strength and the patience and the intelligence and the mindset to allow God to desexualize your brain. That's why it's important to stay in prayer. You know, pray that God rebuke the demon of the lust demon, rebuke all the evil spirits, bind the spirits that are going to try to attack you and get into your soul and your spirit and diminish you, right? Our flesh is constantly raging war against our spirit. So when you're indulging in your flesh, when you're looking at women adulterous, and every time you look at a woman, you just imagine smashing them, right? That's unhealthy. And even I'm still struggling with that, but I know I'm getting better day by day on my semen retention journey. You have to know that that's unhealthy. You have to know that that's not the right way to live life. That's not the way that God intends you to treat women, right? To look at women. That's not godly. And so it's going to take time to desexualize your brain, but the earlier you get started unwiring your brain from, you know, the tricks of Satan, you know, the better, the easier it will be. It's not going to be easy though, but the easier it will be, the quicker you start, the quicker you turn away from those chains, you know, the quicker you turn away from that lust and Satan's devices, right? We cannot be fooled. We cannot be ignorant to Satan's devices. So it's going to be hard desexualizing your brain, but, you know, it's in the long run, you know, you'll be able to raise a family better. You'll be able to actually reach your potential, actually fulfill the purpose that God has set for your life, right? We know Jeremiah chapter 29:11, right? God has a plan for you. So you can't fulfill that plan if you're choosing Satan over God, right? You have to consciously be choosing God all the time in order to fulfill that plan he has for your life, man. So yeah, you know, I'm not here to say it's going to be easy to desexualize your mind. It's going to be hard, right? Because with all the temptation in the world, you know, you have to ignore it. You have to block it out and stay laser focused on God, right? And I seen someone ask me in the comments, how do I stay focused on God? Prayer, keeping a tight, good relationship with God, constantly talking to God. You can never talk to God too much. Never, right? God, he wants us to seek him and seek a relationship with him, right? The Bible says, seek God and his kingdom, seek God and his righteousness, and all things shall be added unto you. So staying in prayer is probably the top thing I could tell, the top piece of advice I could give you. The second thing, you have to, like I said, protect your portals. Be careful what you feed your eyes and your ears. Be careful, because it's literally a window to your soul and to your spirit, right? So you have to close those doors so that Satan can't get in, slither, and plant evil, you know, evil thoughts and seeds, right? He can't plant his seed. And you have to detach yourself from the world. You have to be a friend of God and not a friend of this world, right? So you have to, you know, fasting helps, denying yourself, because that's, you know, just how fleeing from temptation is denying yourself. Fasting is also denying yourself, right? And I'm not telling y'all to fast every day. I don't fast every day, but fasting every now and then will help you build that discipline, that self-control. It'll help you have more, because you want to ultimately, essentially, you want to have control. You don't want to let the lust, the pornography, you know, you don't want to let that control you. You want to control it. You want to control yourself, control your desires. You don't want to let that control you, right? So that's what it's about, man. You know, just staying focused on God, staying focused on your purpose, staying busy, and protecting your portals, and, you know, fasting every now and then. Those are the best pieces of advice. that I have learned on my semen retention journey, on my spiritual journey, to stay focused on God and, you know, hate this world. You have to hate this world in order to truly love God, right? So, yeah, man. That's all I got for this video. If you enjoyed, resonated, were edified, if you received this message, which I pray that you did, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, man. Till next time, it's been your boy Neezy, and I'm out, bruh. Peace.